starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
Yeah, baby, yeah. Good evening, guys. How you doing? Mr. Finn back once again to not necessarily bring you some English on these talks, on these lives, but to just bring something to talk about. Like I've said in the past, I want to take these lives, I want to use these lives as I used to do my conversation classes, bring in a topic that I find interesting or something that I've been thinking about and throwing it out there to digest with you guys, sharing my opinions on things and getting your feedback. The big difference in doing this is it's kind of one-dimensional in a way. I look forward, and I do like having you guys in the chat. Who do I got here tonight? I got Nutshots. He's in the car. Good to have you, Nutshots. Marty, be careful. Madam, how you doing? Nice to see you. Vigo. Oh, she's going to be on soon. All right, cool, no problem. But good to see you guys all here. So, yeah, you like the intro? Thanks. I think I may have to turn it down a little bit because it kind of blows out my eardrums. I might have to lessen it a little bit, the intensity. But let's get started, huh? If you noticed from the title of the video, what's going on in society today? Like, what's happening to our world? I don't necessarily know the age group that I'm reaching yet. I know Marty is about my age. We were practically the same age, born the same year. So I've been around for 4 decades, right? I'm in my 40s. I turned 43 this month, actually. And I come from Los Angeles, California. I think most know this. Southern California, Los Angeles County, not necessarily the city. My father was born and raised in Hollywood. Yeah, buddy, 78, vintage, both of us. Yeah, 78. We turned 43 this year. You were in May, if I'm not mistaken. I'm in April. I'm at the end of the month. But thanks, Matt. Yeah, I take care of myself. I think because I got a good energy. I feel young. I try to take care of myself. I'm a little overweight. It's unfortunate. I don't have a lot of time to do exercises. I do wake up early. I haven't done it in the last few weeks. I need to get back into it to get up and walking. And I can't do push-ups and stuff. I don't know if you guys are aware. I'm having shoulder problems now, my right shoulder. I'm going to do some treatment. I'm going to do a treatment, a Regenix treatment on it. The tendon is starting to tear. So anyways, but I appreciate it. Thanks. Anyways, so yeah, I've been around for a little while as far as time on this planet. And in the 40 some odd years that I've lived here, I have lived in quite a few places. I'm originally from Los Angeles County. I've lived in a number of different cities throughout Southern California. I lived in Carson City, Nevada for about 3 years. That's where I kind of finished high school. And I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for a little while. So most of my time was in the Southwest, right? And I don't know any place past like Miami, Oklahoma, which is in the far corner, right? I think it's near St. Louis, Missouri. Anyways, so, but LA is like the second largest city in the nation, right? First you have New York and it's 5 boroughs. Marty can talk to you more about that. If I'm not mistaken, he's in Queens, New York. I have a brother who lives in New York right now. He lives in, I believe on Staten Island. I'm not sure. My family is spread out. I have a brother in South Dakota, and my youngest brother, the baby Finn, he's still in Southern California. So I've lived all around Southern California in the Southwest, and I have seen the deterioration of Los Angeles firsthand. And I've been living out here in Brazil for literally 12 years now. I completed 12 years on the 1st of April. And even in Brazil, I'm seeing a deterioration in the culture, in society. And I think that this is the real pandemic. And I don't think that enough people are aware of it, right? They don't see it. And this is something that's bothered me for a while. And I think maybe even more now that I'm a father and I've got 2 children, little kids. And I'm doing my best to prepare them for this world and to be a positive force, to make a good impact on the world that we live in. And my brother is there. What's up, Matt? He's the one in South Dakota. Good to see you, buddy. Anyways, so yeah, so him and I, we could both tell you how LA, how Southern California is just, California itself is just collapsed. It's collapsing. They just recently signed, I think the petition to get rid of Gavin Newsom has reached over 2 million. They just needed 1.5 million, and they have to verify 1.5 million by the end of the month to get rid of him. But I'm not opposed to getting rid of him. I do believe one of the major issues that's going on with the fall of the great cities of America is the politics involved. You see places like South Dakota, like Florida, like Texas, they're not hurt so bad by what has happened. But you have places like New Jersey, New York, California that are just turning into just dung piles, dung heaps. There's always been homelessness in big cities, always. When I went and took my wife and my son there in 2017, I was shocked. I was just shocked at how many homeless were there on the streets, just piled up, lined up on the sidewalks in tents. And then I went back a year later to start the immigration process for my wife, and I had to go to LA. And I kid you not, it increased. Like, I could notice just by going there, and I looked it up after, and I think within 1 year it increased by 19%. So something's going on. Something is going on. And I have my theories. And this is what I want to engage with you guys with. I want to talk to you guys, and I want to share with you what I think is going on, hear what you guys have to say what's going on, and just give you food for thought, because society, the world, it's made of us, the population. And my concern is, well, I'm seeing the world society kind of turning into Rome towards its heyday, right? Why? Because at that time, they appeased the masses by giving them circus and bread, right? Giving them entertainment, good times, and feeding them, cheap food that filled their belly. And if you look around nowadays, that's what we have. We everywhere you go, and I was paying attention to that today. I was looking around today. Look at I'm trying to change my camera setup, right? I don't want to buy a webcam. I have a GoPro, and I was trying to use my GoPro as a webcam. And kid you not, I could not find a HDMI to USB adapter. And I looked everywhere. But as I was looking at these places, and pay attention to this too, every single person just has their head in their phone, and I've mentioned this before, there's nothing necessarily wrong with using a phone. There's nothing necessarily wrong with using this technology, but we got to look up, and we have to engage, and we got to live. I don't know how many times I saw even people today sitting at a table together, and each person's their faces in their phone. It's like, wow. They're just wanting to, yeah, let's see what Matt says. They want us to become socialism and communism. Yeah, that's what's happening. I saw a talk today. I forgot who said it, but it resonated. It made a lot of sense that what this cancel culture is, it's the dry run. It's like the dry rehearsal for genocide. They're testing our reaction to people being canceled off of media, so you don't see them anymore, because eventually they're probably going to start genociding people, getting rid of them. You don't see them anymore, you know. To question the state nowadays can end you. You know, look how much they attack Trump. And I'm not trying to make this a political channel. I got my views. I'm not going to make this a theological channel. I am a Christian and I don't mind talking about these things. But look how they attacked Trump, saying that he was manipulating the narrative. But then you have Oprah and Meghan Markle doing the same thing, praising her for proclaiming her truth, but then condemning Trump for accusing him of manipulating the truth there. How you doing, Teacher Rafaeli? If you guys didn't check out my interview with him, check it out. It was a live I did a couple weeks ago. Good to see you, man. I'm probably going to put the link in the chat in a little while. If anybody wants to jump on, it'd be great. But I kind of want to talk about this stuff that's on my mind and my heart first, and then we can chat, because this stuff really bothers me. You know, this stuff, like I said, I'm a father and I got 2 little kids, and I work hard and I try to be the example for them, because I don't believe in your truth, my truth, and his truth and her truth. No, there's one truth in your opinion and my opinion, and things like that, right? But going back to the main topic, like, what's wrong with society? Can you guys honestly tell me that things are better now than they were 20 years ago? Are things better now when your parents were our age? Were things better when our grandparents were our age? Now, I know you guys didn't live back then, but through the magic of Hollywood, you know, we have the movies, we have the music from that time. We can see how life was. I liked what Matt said here, both Matt M and Matthew Finn, about they want us to become socialists. They want us to become communists, you know, the progressive in the politics. It's becoming very Orwellian. I don't know if any of you guys have read George Orwell's books, 1984 and Animal Farm. Both of those books, he's written more books, but those are the 2 books when people refer to Orwellian times, Orwellian society. Why? Well, if you read 1984, the gist of that story was erasing the past, erasing history, forgetting about history, and accepting the norm. Matt says it right now. It's playing out now. No, but both are playing out now. And I'll explain in a second. Both are playing out, 1984 and Animal Farm. So he's right. The BLM riots that happened last summer in the States was totally 1984. Why? They were destroying the history. They were destroying the statues. They were just, even Trump said this when after the I think it was in Ferguson, right? Or Charlottesville in Virginia, that riots, and the media was manipulating his speech when he says there were good people on both sides, except for the neo-Nazis, you know, because he had mentioned tearing down the statues, getting rid of the past is not going to be, it's not a good thing. It's a slippery slope. You know, where's it going to stop? And look what's happening. And now you have actors coming out ashamed of roles that they played in past films because it comes across as racist and misogynist and bigoted. My goodness, guys. Racism has always been around. Slavery has always been around. We should not be paying the prices for our grandfather's sins. None of this reparations and stuff. So about this 1984 thing, you have the powers that be erasing the past and controlling the narrative, like not allowing you to question the government. And then we have Animal Farm. If you guys aren't familiar with Animal Farm is about manipulating the language. It's the double talk. It's spinning the narrative. And that is so happening right now. You know? Yeah. So we have people have read Animal Farms. 2 legs better than 4. That was actually opposite, they said. But then it came out at the end. If you guys know the story, the pig started walking on 2 legs, right? What does teacher office? Anytime I spoke to my grandma, I was amazed about the old times. Nowadays, Mr. Technology has made our society empty. We are zombies behind screens. Most of the people live only for one reason. Yeah, only for one reason. Feeling good. Entertainment. That the endorphins, right? Dopamine. Last class I talked about, I think it was the last live I did, I talked about the manipulation of social media, right? And I talked about the social dilemma. And now you have the psychologist involved creating this. And it's like playing a slot machine, you know, pulling that lever and getting the dopamine hits. That's what people are living for. It's living for that, trying to go after money. Now, money, like technology by itself, is not a bad thing. It's not. In the Bible, 1 Timothy, I can't remember off the top of my head, Paul writes to Timothy saying it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Money itself isn't. It's a tool, just like technology is a tool. We need it to live in a modern day society. But what's going to happen with money? Money, fiat money, if you guys aren't familiar with fiat money, what is it? It's backed by a promise. Fiat money, and what if you guys don't understand what I'm talking about, fiat money, and I'm not an expert, right? But fiat money is like the dollar, the real in Brazil, the ruble, the ruby, the euro, the pound. It's money that's backed by the government, and it's backed by a promise. It's like credit. Money has not been backed by gold or precious metals since, if my memory serves me correctly, about the 50s. I think it was after World War II. They changed it. But it's almost worthless. And I've got concerns right now. When it comes to money. Like, how much money is the government printing? Like, there's going to be huge inflation in the future. Like, the dollars, what's it going to be worth? I mean, governments likes to tax. They talk about taxing the rich, taxing the 1% to pay for things. But now they're just printing the money. $1 trillion, a couple trillion here, a couple trillion there. What does that do to the value of the money? And then this gets in the argument of cryptocurrency and this, and where's this going? And is this jab that they're trying to force people to get, this vaccine passport, is this kind of like the step towards a chip being in you? I don't know if you guys remember the RFID chip they were implanting in your hand here. That's the size of a grain of rice that has all your info in it. You could scan it and stuff. You don't need to worry about losing your cards or your wallets. I mean, I think people were waking up to that stuff. And now with this pandemic, they have like an avenue. I think global warming wasn't working for them. They weren't scaring the people enough. The economy wasn't scaring them enough. We had a bubble burst in 2008, if you guys remember, the economy, the housing economy, or the housing bubble, right? We had a recession. What's going to happen? We're borrowing from my children's future, and then if you guys who have children, and this is what concerns me. And where are we going to go from there? And people not questioning. People not standing up, people not saying enough. I mean, people don't know enough of our own history. They don't know enough about the Constitution, about we the people, the power of the people, right? Anyways, and look what's happening. People are being arrested for not wearing a mask. There was I saw yesterday, I was alive, PragerU. There was a restaurant owner in Los Angeles who was arrested because he kept opening up his restaurant. They boarded it shut. He opened it up. They locked it with padlocks. He cut the padlocks. And then I think just yesterday they put sandbags in front and he was moving the sandbags and they arrested him. I mean, that's tyranny. And people are just letting it happen. So let me backtrack. I think everyone can recognize that we're not in a good spot. All right, we're not in a good spot. Let's see what Raphael says. The old times people live by principles. That's right. People don't have principles anymore. And if anybody knows me or what I talk about, I'm a person about principles, values, conviction. There are things that I will not back down on. There's things I will negotiate on, but there's some things that I don't bend. I break or I break. Does that make sense? And I think that's really important. That's something I'm telling my kids. I'm teaching my kids at a young age. Like when I talk to my kids, I'm always putting it, I'm phrasing it in a way like the Finns don't do this. The Finns do this. We are Finn. We do this, you know, because I want them to understand, like, we as a family, we're a tribe, we're a pack, and we have values. We have a code to live by. And I, as the father, have to set that standard. My wife, she's already, you know, I don't want to say fallen in line, but she's in lockstep with me. I married someone with equal values. Now, her and I are going back and forth on this jab because I'm willing to not move back to America if I'm forced to take the jab. She is willing to. And I told her our kids are not going to take it. So I don't know what's going on with the consulate. But anyways, what does Matt say? Look at the news this week about United Airlines hiring more diverse pilots, all this woke crap. I know. I mean, even Joe Biden, he, as in his, you know, the former vice president, like Crowder says, he's hiring people in his cabinet on their quota of black and white or Hispanic, and not on their qualifications. Like, give me a freaking break, man. As a teacher, as an English teacher, I have taught many kinds of classes, English based. I've taught literature classes. I've taught speech classes, how to give speeches, and obviously English as a second language. And teaching speech classes, for example, we've had to analyze some speeches. And the speech that comes to my mind, we have two great speeches in American history. I would say probably the two best speeches in American history would be the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln. And the second one was Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. And I don't know how many of you guys are aware of how that speech was done. If you guys ever watched that speech from Martin Luther King, it's very, you could say it's kind of robotic, the first half of the speech. And the second half of the speech is where the passion is. It's where he sold it. And why did that work? Well, because he, like many good speakers, knows how to read the audience. When it comes to speaking, public speaking, like what I'm doing here with you guys, there's two factors you got to keep in mind. That's audience and purpose. All right. Who's the audience and what's the reason? What's the purpose of speaking? Because those two things will determine the language you use, the tone of voice. It'll determine many factors of what you're saying. So if you ever check out Martin Luther King's speech, I Had a Dream, the first half of the speech was a pre-planned speech. You know, it was written down and rehearsed and was organized. But I think he felt it falling flat on the multitude that was there at the mall in Washington. And if you guys aren't familiar with Martin Luther King Jr., his father was a pastor, I believe, or a reverend. So he had experience in the church and he had experience in this public speaking. So the second half of the speech, obviously, when you practice a speech, you know the gist of the speech. You know most of the talking points. So the second half of the speech, it was more off the cuff. It was more improv and passionate. And that's where the good part of the speech is. And one of the things, and the reason why I mentioned this speech, right? Because we're talking about right, what Matt said here about the pilots, right, being woke. I can't find the comment where he said right here about the pilots being woke. And my mentioning Joe Biden hiring people because he wants a transgender health secretary, all right, and black this and Latino that. Okay, I don't care. Like, I'm not a person that looks at race. I want to know what your qualifications are. Seriously. And that gets to the point of why I mentioned Martin Luther King's speech, because towards the end of the speech, what does he say? I have a dream that you will be judged by the content of your character and not by the color of your skin. And look at where we are now. he died in the 60s, 68, 67, 68 or 69. We are 40, 50 years from then. 50 years. And we're almost right back where we left off. Like, seriously? Why? How does that happen? How does that happen? And that's kind of the point I'm bringing here. Like, where do we get from having slavery? And you can crucify America all you want for having slaves, but every country did, and there was the Judeo-Christian values of America and William Wilberforce in England that abolished slavery. Those were the dominoes that eliminated slavery. Now, you want to cry and bitch and moan, there's still slavery in the world, there's still human trafficking in the world. If you're not aware of what's going on at the southern border of the United States, wake up. It's still happening. It's still happening. You guys got to watch the last Rambo. I don't know, Rambo 5 or 6. It was just about that. Not just about it, but human trafficking. It still exists. That Liam Neeson film, what is it? I can't remember right now. Anyways. So how is it within 50 years or less than that, like okay, slaveries, okay, America's the first colony in the United States it wasn't the United States back then, but the first colony the British set, it was the third colony, but it was the first permanent colony that still exists to the day, was in Jamestown, Virginia, 1607. Okay, the first slaves that entered into the continent, the North American continent, was in 1619, and that's why you have these crazy liberals trying to create the 1619 project. When that's when America first started, that's a bunch of bullcrap. All right. That's just when the first slaves entered or stepped foot on the continental United States. But if you understand the founding fathers, if you see behind my left shoulder here, I have the autobiography, it's not the autobiography. It's the biography of Thomas Jefferson. If you guys don't know who Thomas Jefferson is, man, oh my gosh, please don't tell me because I'm going to be ashamed for you. He was the author of the Declaration of Independence. It was edited by John Adams and Benjamin Franklin. He was one of the founding fathers of the Constitution. He was the first Secretary of State. He was the second vice president, and he was the third president of the United States. He was the one that was responsible for tripling the size of the continent of the United States with the Louisiana Purchase. Anyways, that was good, Marty. I like that. This is something I'm passionate about. Last time I was talking about things that I found were interesting, but I didn't get a lot of good traction. But this is something that I'm going to try to keep myself on track because I could talk forever. This is stuff I really feel strongly about. And I as a teacher, try to have a positive impact on this next generation. I often have told other people that I've taught, that I've trained as teachers, most of us can see problems with the world. And most of us can't understand, or we don't think, how can we change the world? And I come to the perspective of, if you could change the world for one person, like their perspective and how they see the world, that's a great step. Think about a ripple. It starts small and it can go out far. So I'm not an expert in any of these things. So don't take what I'm saying as like gold, and I know exactly what I'm talking about. But I am a person that likes to read. I am fascinated about history, the good and the bad, and I'm a curious guy, and I'm as a human, I pay attention to my surroundings and patterns and stuff. So, anyways, getting back to Thomas Jefferson, right? And talking about slaves and talking about where we've gone from here. There's a reason why I'm not getting off the track. There's a reason why I mentioned these things. Back then, he was there at the very beginning when we declared independence, 1776, on America's birthday. He, even before then, was trying to abolish slavery, but it wasn't accepted then. It wasn't the time. And he even mentions it. Like, as much as he wants to get rid of it, he didn't mention, he couldn't. But he always treated his slaves fairly. In fact, some of them, he was too friendly with them. if you guys know the history. But even George Washington, he had slaves, but if you don't know history, he freed the slaves when he died. So that was 300 years ago. And then in 1864, 1862, 1861, 1862, until 1864, we had the Civil War to abolish slavery. People don't understand so much how this happened. The country was kind of divided from the north to the south. North was industrial, south was agricultural. You had the plantations, you grew the raw brute material, and it would be shipped to the north. The north would buy it, make goods out of it, sell it to the south. So you had this like symbiotic relationship. Now, the South wanted to keep their slaves because that's how they became rich. The plantation owners, they were rich because their slaves were part of their property. So they didn't want to abolish slavery because then they would have to pay them. Why? You don't pay your work mule, your workhorse. No. So this was the big rift. And as the country expanded, and if you guys check this out in U.S. history, but as the country expanded, for every new state, they would have to have an equal, like every new state, like if it was a slave state, they would have an equal, they'd have to create two states at a time. It would have to be a slave state and a free state because they had to have balance. And this happened all the way up to the Civil War. So after the Civil War happened, we still had segregation. We still had separation, right? And everybody knows this, the Jim Crow laws and things like this. But after the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s, it changed. It changed. And I kid you not, you can look, maybe not exactly in the 60s, but 70s, mid 70s, I think around the Vietnam War times, until the 90s, racism was not a huge issue. It was not a huge issue. People didn't look at you as a whole as, oh, this black person, this Mexican. No. And from my experience, you look at this lazy bum. Look at this idiot. Look at this good for nothing. You looked at their quality of a person. Like, oh, this person's not contributing anything. This person's doing nothing. And I kid you not, it wasn't until Obama became president that race became a huge issue again. Like, I'm not saying it was never an issue, but it became a huge issue again. And now it's carried us to where we are now. And this is going to get to my point of where we are and how we got here. Guys, we are just little pawns. Not even pawns. We're not players. We're cannon fodder. We're cattle. We're the goyim, as the puppet masters want to call us. If memory serves me correctly, around 2016, I started waking up to a lot of this stuff. Hey, V, good to see you make it. Good to see you. Don't need to worry about it, bro. When I'm bringing up race or anything else, I'm bringing it to a rational view, right? The puppet masters, like in 2016, I started waking up to what's going on around us. It is very hard to look at people globally and kind of see a difference. We're almost all looking the same, dressing the same, speaking the same, maybe not the same language, but mannerisms, acting the same. And how, why, what's going on? I think media has a huge part to do with it. Media has been used as propaganda to manipulate the masses. If you think propaganda doesn't exist anymore, you're highly mistaken. It's in full force. I mean, psychologists have been involved in the manipulation of how we see things. Look up MK Ultra. Look at the Monarch Project. We are just goyim. We're just the eaters. We're just the worker ant, the worker bees. You know, there is something going on. There is something going on behind the scenes that it's only now, I believe, starting to come to light. We have players like George Soros. I mean, if you guys don't know who George Soros is, he's an 80 or 90-year-old billionaire philanthropist who is literally responsible for overthrowing countries and governments. I guarantee you, he is one of the big reasons behind BLM. As you saw, I'm pretty sure lots of videos that went viral before the riots are pallets of bricks on corners and stuff. This guy, and if you don't know the history of him, I'm not going to go through it all, but you can look it up. He's a Jew born, I think he's from Budapest, Hungary. And he was responsible for selling out a lot of Jews to the Nazis. This guy's an evil guy, man. And he's one of the big players. He's one of the big players that's pulling the strings. But let's go further back than that. Are you guys familiar with Albert Pike? Do you guys know who Albert Pike is? Albert Pike, you could basically call him the godfather of the Freemasons. Okay, you can see the double-headed eagle on his pennant. You see the 33 degree pyramid on his sash there, because 33 degree Freemason is the top three Freemason. It's as high as you go as Freemasonry. And he was a Freemason in the late 19th century, so late 1870. He's the one that wrote like the Freemason handbook called Morals and Dogma. And Albert Pike, he wrote a letter. Yeah, hey, Tony, good to see you, bro. He's evil, man. He's so evil. I recommend everybody just know who he is. Look him up. Just know who he is and just know what we're playing with. And Albert Pike, if you guys don't know who Albert Pike is, check him out. This guy here, he was the one. I'm going to kind of give you a brief summary of what I remember from what I read about him. So he was the one that kind of made the Freemasons interconnected globally, internationally, right? Like Illuminati kind of stuff. He was the one that wrote their handbook, Morals and Dogma, that they use, I believe, until this day. He also wrote a letter, and I have some notes on it here. I actually have he wrote a letter in 1871, kind of lining up the 3 world wars. And I have some excerpts of this letter that I want to read with you guys. And it's kind of shocking when you look at it. Because you have to remember, this letter was written 1871. So what is that? That's 40 years before World War I, right? Because I think what was World War I? 19. Help me out, guys. I want to say 1905 or 1910 or so. It was in the first decade, within the first or second decade of the 20th century. Anyways, so he wrote a letter, and let me go through this letter. He wrote a letter illustrating, kind of as a blueprint for the 3 world wars, right? The 3 world wars that were going to come. And if you listen to this, you're going to see how shocking it is, because not only in his letters does he illustrate who are going to be the players in the world wars, but what the outcome is going to be. And remember, this is prior to the First World War, and we've had 2 so far, right? So let me read this for you guys and just take a listen. So he writes like this: the First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia, and of making that country a fortress for atheistic communism, which it is until today. There's no czars, and it's an atheist country. Still communist, still democratic communist, right? Continuing. The divergences caused by the agenteer, or the agents of the Illuminati, between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. And that is what happened at the end of World War I. You had no more czars in Russia. Russia dominated its neighboring countries. They assumed or annexed them and eliminated religion. You still have Orthodoxy, Christianity, and stuff there, but it's not on a whole. It's not as a whole, right, of the country. This is what happened. Now, that was the plan for World War One. There we go. Let me go back to the letter. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm, which is what is happening. We're like on the verge of that now, if you see what's happening. Now, if you know anything about history, this is what happened after Second World War, right? We had Nazism, or the Nazis, right? Fascism in Germany, right? In Russia. And they had the Blitzkrieg, right? So they would go through countries, boom, boom, boom. Like, if you guys don't know how that worked, man, they would rush in with troops and tanks, boom, 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 take over a place. They would leave some troops behind. They would go on to the next place. So they just spread like a virus, like a wildfire. So you had the West, right? America and England get together with communists because they had an equal enemy, the fascists. When they were overthrown, you had established communism. The Iron Curtain went down. You separated Europe. Palestine established. Israel was established in Palestine. They had their country, and pretty much everything that was illustrated has come to fruition. And now what happens? The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur, right, the agents of the Illuminati, between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. And I think we are getting to this point. We are seeing for the last 20 years, terrorist attacks, right? Bombings. We've gone to war after 9/11, and I'm not going to get into any of the conspiracies right now about false flags and anything, but you can see that the chessboard has been in play. Things have happened. We have until today this animosity between Israel and Palestine. It's just getting worse. People are becoming exhausted morally. They're becoming exhausted physically and spiritually, now economically, right? So, getting back here, we only have just 2 little more paragraphs to go. What does he say? We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So I'll share the link to what I'm reading in the description. I didn't put it in yet. This was like a final add-on thought I had. But this copy of the letter cut and pasted from the article, which contains a lot of contextualizing information, but strangely doesn't mention the Royal Ark Freemasonry. There's a link to that at the bottom of this letter. So as you can see here, this is from 1871, and this has been the blueprint of the fall of civilization as we know it. They want to destroy Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and atheism, and bring about this Luciferian paradise for themselves. So this here, I think, has a big effect on what's going on nowadays and what we see. And more recently, and this is going to start going into more of my opinion, from the 60s and the sexual revolution and the destruction of families, free sex, no consequences, no kids. We have birth control and stuff. And now in the 80s, we had the epidemic of AIDS. And, there's always been homosexuality, always been. This is just something in human nature. But it started to become more open back in the 60s and 70s. And then it's just gone down. We went from homosexuality, bestiality, now it's all this LGBTQ, XYZ. Now pedophilia is starting to become normalized, like seriously. There's a group called Mambla. If you guys don't know what Mambla is, check it out. I don't want to get too much into it. So this is what we are going on here. So what I want to do now that I'm coming up to 45 minutes, I kind of want to get to the main point of what is happening to society and the world around us and where are we going. As I was looking up, because I have lots of ideas on this and I don't have time to put them all on paper to organize it, but as I was researching some of my talking points, I came across an essay that I think is done very well. And this essay is something I'm going to read with you guys. It has 10 points. Let me share with you here. This essay, it's entitled 10 Things That Are Wrong with Society Today. And it's written by, I'm not even going to try the name. And very recently, it was written back August of 2020. And when I read this essay, I thought that it hit on a lot of the points that I was thinking on. Even though some I disagree with a little bit, but on the whole, I believe it hits the nail on the head. And it saves me from putting a lot of my thoughts on paper because I don't have a lot of time. If you guys know half of the things that I do, all the classes that I give, family take care of, I can't do everything I want to do. So I was really fortunate to find this essay because it hits on a lot of the points that I agree on. And I want to share this with you guys here. And I know this is going to be a long video, but it's going to be saved on YouTube and you guys can check it out later. You guys can break it up in pieces, but I just want to register this because I have this platform and I just want to do everything that's in my power to just kind of bring some knowledge and information and talking points and points of view and food for thought, because anyone that's watching this, you can do something in your realm and in your world to change your surroundings and be that pebble causing the small ripples that will grow into tidal waves. So that's why I'm doing this, and that's why it's turning into a long video, but I think there's a lot of good points here, and I'm going to get into this essay right now, okay? Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to start reading it here, and then I'm going to start sharing my opinions about some of this stuff. So let's begin. It is called, let me ask you guys a question. Do you want me to share the essay on the screen as I read it? Let me ask the guy, the chat. Should I share it here with you guys while I read it, or do you just want me to stay on the screen while I read it? Because I could share it. Well, I'll start reading it. If you guys want me to share it, I'll share it. So let me start here. Here we go. So 10 things. 10 things that are wrong with society today. Now, I'm reading the essay. I constantly tell people to focus on themselves, their tribes, their families, their communities first, because as a collective, we're screwed. And I could not agree more with that statement. I think I basically said that to you about focusing on your realm, your tribe, and creating ripples around you. So I couldn't agree more with that statement. Getting back. Society has always had flaws, but now these flaws are accelerating and exacerbated. That being said, I'm still bullish on your ability to change your life. For the individual, there has never been a better time to be alive. You have access to the type of technology, wisdom, and network that can make you a modern day demigod. Seriously, if you accumulate the right skills and let them compound over time, you'll be playing the game. You'll be playing the game life on easy mode. I think that's a typo on his phone. You'll be playing the game of life on easy mode. But some people still make mistakes. Now, but you'll only be able to do this if you avoid distractions and stay away from the societal game. There was a point in time where society was stable enough that you could just live by the status quo and have a pretty good life. Those days are gone, and I'll explain why, or at least I'll try to at least. That's what he says. So I'm reading from this essay here, all right? No one says to share, so I'm just going to keep on reading. Your show, you decide. Oh, Marty says share. All right, I'll share it as I read. Share file. I'm going to share this one. Okay, so here we go. By the end of this article, I want to convince you that nobody's coming to save you. Massive institutions will always fail you, even the ones with good intentions. The nature of society is such that putting your faith in the collective guarantees failure. Okay, let's get into it. So, point number one, people care more about the process than the results. Now, before I go into that, let me share my point of view on that statement. Okay, so what does that mean? If I'm understanding that correctly, that means what? That means people care more about being right, like your truth and my truth. That's what people care about. You know, they care more about this process. They don't care so much about what facts are anymore. You know? Let me move this thing here. Take off that banner. It's in the way. All right. Yeah, people care more about the process than results. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue here. People prefer being right than getting it right, especially powerful people. You can see this when it comes to politics or conversations. Conversations about the institutions in society. Let's say you're someone on the left, and somehow someone could objectively prove that adopting a policy from the right would make your life better and dramatically improve society, or vice versa. You wouldn't accept it, right? Naval Ravikant has a great saying. It's not a good system unless you can hand it over to your enemies and let them run it. Makes sense. Politicians care more about appearances than results. Same with bloated organizations and their prominent employees. The appearance of results can be more profitable than real results, and often is. And short-term wins with long-term downsides always win because they'll get you elected and promoted. Plus, you can wash your hands of them in the future. Great. And you know what's funny? That right there reminds me of the current administration. Joe, man, look at the things he's doing. Do you think he really cares? Do you think he really cares? He's going to die. I mean, we're all going to die. And I'm not wishing anything bad to our president, even though he wasn't my choice. But he's been in office. It's going to be the first quarter of this year. And he barely can make it through one orchestrated press conference. Do you think he really cares about the things that he enacts? He's not going to be here to live them out. He's not going to be here. So he doesn't care. I mean, do you think the media cares that his son is involved in another scandal? Not only with the drugs and prostitutes and stuff, but now it's with the gun? They don't care. And I find it very interesting, right? Trump had kids in cages, but everything's okay in the southern border now. It's only at 700% capacity. And now the new argument is what? That the Trump or the Biden administration is going to continue building the wall. How's that for irony, right? They were so against the wall, but they're not going to build the wall. They're just filling the gaps. Oh my gosh, it's just a joke, man. All right, so let's continue. Let's get back to this. Okay. Oh, I don't want to share it like that. Share it like that. No, share it like that. No. There we go. Share it like that. I'm still learning how to share these screens. Okay, here we go. So, for people who bow to the altar of institutions, their brains are warped to the point they just want their team to win, even if their team doesn't make their life better. The lengths I've seen people defend the actions of their own representatives is bonkers, but I get it. The narratives in people's minds are so strong now that no amount of facts, logic, or reason, and this is misgrammar here. They're missing comma. Anyways, that's the English teacher in me. So no amount of facts, comma, logic, comma, or reason, comma, will change their minds. We've always been plagued by confirmation bias, but it's gone to the extreme now. And since the answer to social problems is probably somewhere in the middle of both camps, nothing will get done. Let's go to number 2. And on that point about both camps and nothing can get done, I think if people let Trump do what Trump was doing, things would have gotten done. People forget where Trump came from. He was loved in America. Rappers would rap about him, right? Trump was the man. Everybody wanted to be like Trump. I mean, hell, he had Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton at his wedding. You know, he donated. He was a player. He was a businessman. But why was he hated so much? Because he wouldn't fall in line. He wasn't a yes man. He was, I'm going to do what I feel is right, whether you like it or not. And they hated him for that. So the system tried to crush him and defame him and malign him. So I think he was a good person as far as meeting in the middle. Yeah, I'm sure about that. He wasn't a traditional Republican conservative. He wasn't like that at all. You know, he's a businessman. He was about making America great again. He was about, now there's a few things that he did I wasn't in favor of, like really pushing the vaccine and stuff. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. And the only point I'm trying to make on this and bringing up Trump is I think he would have been a good candidate as far as meeting in the middle. He's not extreme right. He's not extreme left. Most of his adult life, he was a registered Democrat. But things just got too crazy. And he wasn't part of, yeah, I get you. He was raised by spending and printed money. Sure, I know. But, and he's the type of, think about the owner of Zada. Do you know the Zada, the stores? That guy was dyslexic and he became a millionaire opening up Zada. And then he became bankrupt. He was bankrupt and he bounced back. Same thing with Trump. He's not a single child, but why is he the only one that we know of? Because he took the money that his father invested in all of his kids and made something of himself. And I do think there's a lot of narcissism behind, you know, who Trump is. I think people in that position are naturally narcissists, you know, it's got to be about them. But the point I'm trying to make, yeah, he did. I know he did. But McCain wasn't a good representative, I think, of veterans. Neither is John Kerry, right? And this is something you and I can talk about on another stream about this stuff. I think that was taken out of context. But still, I'm not trying to judge him by the big mouth that he had. This is one of my issues with him. He didn't know how to filter his words. But let's judge him on the actions that he did, on what he was able to produce. Okay. Everyone, if you want to judge everyone on what they say, that's an issue. And I understand you're a vet. I know you're a vet. My brother's a vet. I have my Finn number 3. Finn number 3 was he went to Iraq twice, 2 deployments. The second one was volunteer. So I get it. I can relate to veterans, bro. I got your back. What I'm saying is, I think what he said was taken out of context. McCain wasn't a good representative of vets. Neither is John Kerry. But we have to judge him on what he was able to get done, even with the resistance. And the only point I'm making about bringing up Trump is the argument I made here. Where is it? Meeting in the middle, right? Right here, this paragraph here, right? Their narrative, look here. The narratives in people's minds are so strong now that no amount of facts, logic, or reason will change their minds. We've always been plagued by confirmation bias, but it's gone to the extreme now. And this is the part here. And since, here we go. And since, come on, now is it not working? And since the answer to societal problems is probably somewhere in the middle of both camps, nothing will get done. So the only reason I'm bringing up Trump is I believe he would have been a great candidate to bring it in the middle. That's all I'm trying to say. He was a Democrat for his adult life, and he registered as Republicans. The Democrats are just, they're far. Look at Kennedy. Look at John F. Kennedy. He was a Democrat, but if you look at his speech, it would sound Republican. That's how far they've gone. Everything's gone left. Everything's going left. So they're so left that that the left are falling off the progressive end. Anyways, I'm not trying to bring this into a political battle here between this. Okay, I got your back on vets and stuff, and I don't agree that Trump wasn't eloquent in his words, but he got things done. And all I was trying to say was he could have been that agent in the middle, but he wasn't a team player. There was a speech. I saw Newt Gingrich. If you guys don't know who Newt Gingrich was, he was a Speaker of the House during Clinton's presidency. And he said that what did he say? He's not a team player. No, he's not on the inside or something like that. He's not one of them. He's not one of us or something like that. I can't recall. Anyways, yeah. So let's get back. You guys are going to say who's going to be president. Yeah. Pence. You say Pence 2024. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, but I think he's too much of a politician in a way. And sometimes I don't think he had enough of Trump's back towards the end there with all what happened. Ron DeSantis 24. Yeah, that's a possibility. I think DeSantis is kind of like Trump, he's more tame. He's tamer. He's a little more eloquent in his and what he's trying to say. He's an actual politician and not a reality show host. But like Trump, he attacks the media. He doesn't let them get away with their spin. You can see what happened with the 60-minute thing that happened. Anyways, all right, let me get back to what I was talking about. I don't want to have you guys derail the conversation, because my point is, what is wrong with society? Okay. I think politics have a lot that's going on with society. People do need to be involved in politics, but people need to be involved on a social level, on a community level, That's how we get things done. Don't worry about the federal government. Federal government, people need to look at the Constitution. People need to read the Bill of Rights. The 10th Amendment gives the states its independence. Now, so the federal government is the umbrella, but each state has their own constitution. So we need to focus on a local level, because the way people live in Sacramento is not the way that people live in Missouri. It's not the way people live in Miami, in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in Austin, Texas. So we have to focus on this locally. My focus on this stream, my argument for today is to try to wake you guys up, anybody that's watching this, to realize what's going on with society and what can you do to give you food for thought. We could get on the tangent of politics any other time. The only point I meant with Trump, he could have been the middleman. That's what I was trying to mention, right? So let me get back. Let me get back to what I'm reading here, right? So that's what I came out with this paragraph here. So let's look at point number 2. Number 2, most of society doesn't understand how incentives work. I agree. You can play musical chairs with politicians all you want, like we're talking about right now in the chat. But without changing the incentive structures for how politicians behave, you change nothing about the system. And that's the point. Why? Let me get back to you guys and get off of this. Why? What are incentives? An incentive is something that motivates you to do something. So think about it. There's a big push right now to get rid of capitalism. You have this big push of socialized communist kind of system. Let the government control everything. There's no incentive in that. Capitalism provides an incentive. We have technology. We have our smartphones. We have all of these things because the incentive of making a buck. We've talked about this on another stream. I don't know which one it was. I don't know if it was Tony's stream or Gonzo's stream or Primal Man's, but there's no incentive in curing people. There's no money in it. The money is in the treatment. So pharmaceutical companies are huge. Look at what's going on now. Pandemic. Pfizer, Monsanto, all these other companies are coming out there. And now I hear if you get the jab with all these variants, you're going to have booster shots every year. Kiss my white behind. I don't need that garbage. Look at how everything we eat is GMOs from Monsanto. Farmers don't even have the rights to their own crops anymore because Monsanto has the copyrights to the genetics of the seed. Where's the incentive for the politicians to do the right thing? Where's the incentive? They're getting paid. I mean, we getting back to Trump, right? Oh, he's for the rich. He's for the rich. Wall Street invested in Sleepy Joe, the potato in office. What about that big scandal he was involved in, or his son was involved in, with China, that the media kept it secret before the election? Where's his incentive? Is it for the American people? Trump got us out of the WHO. Biden brought us back. What's the incentive? To make his crackhead son richer? And we keep voting them in. But, I mean, how many people trust the electoral process anymore with what happened? And I'm not a big enough platform, so I'm not concerned about being kicked off of YouTube. I do want to get monetized, though, so maybe I do got to be careful in what I say, so even this video could be monetized one day. But what's the incentive? You have a big YouTuber like Steven Crowder, who I love to watch. He was what was he doing? He was verifying some of the addresses in Nevada that apparently voted and showing that they were fake. And he was taking the camera and the newspaper, and YouTube kicked him off. I've seen in the chat talking about going into a communism and socialism. I think it's more of an oligarchy. I don't know if you guys know what an oligarchy is. It's a group that's in charge. And we are having, he's back though. He got banned, but he's back. He came back yesterday. So yesterday, anyways. But we have an oligarchy building up. What do I mean? Well, you have big tech and government kind of working side by side. what was in the news? They were giving Trump a hard time for banning crazy people on his Twitter, but it's okay for Twitter to ban him. I mean, isn't that like the epitome of hypocrisy? All right. Anyway, so getting back, I want to get back to the article, but incentives. People don't know how incentives work. And we see how these people who are supposed to be our representatives, because we do not live in a democracy, but we live in a democratic republic. That means that we democratically elect people to represent us. That's what a republic is. So we have these representatives whose incentive is not to make our lives better or to take care of Americans, but it's to send billions and trillions of dollars overseas with stimulus checks. Do you guys forget that? Where are the incentives? All right, let's go back. So you can play musical chairs. I won't. Okay, I already read that paragraph. The incentives create the outcomes. The larger the organization or institution, the more the incentives drive the outcome than the behavior of the individuals. There are countless people who feel trapped in bloated organizations with crap incentives. To change the incentives of a faulty system, you need the incumbents to go against their own self-interest to change the incentives. And I don't really see anybody courageous enough to do that. It would basically take all the members of Congress to sacrifice their personal careers and incomes to make agreements to pass a swift set of laws that would rob the power of the next group of politicians while giving the power back to the people. This will never happen. I could not agree more with that statement. This will never happen. Worse, politicians aren't incentivized to solve problems at all. Think about it. Who runs a campaign on everything's good, let's keep it going? No one. You have to either have to create, maintain, or frame the appearance of problems to get votes. What did the Democrats say? What did Hillary Clinton say? Don't let a good crisis go to waste. I could go on here, but the bottom line is simple. Understand the difference between the way you think things should be versus the way they are. If you follow the incentives dispassionately, the answers are obvious. Great. So I thought point number two is spot on. Spot on. Well, they say follow the money. Follow the money. All right, here we go. Let's look at point number 3. We have impossible ambitions for equality. I agree with that. The disparity in outcomes between groups doesn't always equal discrimination. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Even making that statement is controversial today. The conversation has veered too hard toward trying to legislate away all the differences in outcomes, which is impossible, instead of trying to identify why certain disparities are occurring. What can be done, fix them, and whether or not they should be fixed in the first place. We can't have an honest conversation We can't have an honest conversation because of points 1 and 2. Life isn't fair. And you know what's funny? Thinking about that, I want to add to that. Not only is life not fair, but you aren't the same as me. You don't have the same values as me, maybe. You don't have the same dreams that I do. You don't have the same tastes that I do. So what does that happen? What comes of that? You will make different decisions than I will make. So how are we going to be equal, or how are we going to have equal outcomes if you make different decisions than me and you have different tastes than I do? And if we have equal outcomes, I'm not going to be satisfied. Maybe you're satisfied. I'm not satisfied. I want more. How am I going to get more? But if I'm going to work harder to get the same as you, like, this goes back to the incentive. I think back when I was teaching at a school, and they were giving participation awards, and I was thinking, what's the incentive of the kid that's hustling? What's his incentive? And then you got the fat one over there that just sits on the bench and he gets the same prize. I remember talking to the director. I've always been outspoken. And I remember talking to the director. I said, we shouldn't do this. We're not preparing them for life. And what was their concern? Self-esteem. Oh, we don't want them to feel bad. And I was like, but they should feel bad for being lazy and fat. They should feel bad for, not trying to hustle. Like I'm a big fan of shaming people, not embarrassing. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I think shame is a good incentive to do what's right, to not be a fool. And I think all of you, right, are adults here. You would agree with me. Life ain't fair. And it doesn't really care, right? If you try hard or not, if you don't have what it takes, you're not going to get it. Hey, Peekaboo's in the chat. How you doing, Peekaboo? What'd she say? My alarm went off, but I thought it was tomorrow, and somehow I got it wrong, and I ignored it, but I'm over here looking, and here you are. Sorry about that. That's okay, Peekaboo. I've been here for an hour now, and I'm almost halfway done through the essay I'm reading. Anyways, hope you like what you're hearing. I'm kind of passionate about tonight's subject. What does Marty say? People need to tell both parties to go to hell and need our votes, but both parties pledge allegiance to financial control. Yeah. So anyways. So the participation awards, it doesn't fly with me because it doesn't prepare them for life. You keep telling a kid, you're perfect and you're a princess, you're a prince and you're perfect and everything's okay. And then they go on in life and then they expect to have everything given to them. And then reality is like a sledgehammer to the face. It's like I think about wrestling, like WWF wrestling. It's like a chair to the face. Boom. Life is not like that. But now they're trying to legislate it like that and legislate equality. And it gets back to this point. We're not equal. We're not built the same way. We don't have the same thoughts, desires, dreams. We don't have the same background. So why should there be equality in outcome? I don't get it. All right, let's go back. If you're born in America instead of if you're born in America instead of a poor African country, or in New York instead of the Appalachian Mountains, is the disparity of your outcomes versus theirs a product of anything other than pure luck? Nope. I think that paragraph was kind of making my point. And that's one of many examples of tough shit that we're unable to fully confront. On top of the fact that disparities within collectives can't always necessarily be fixed, the conversation is always about relative status and outcomes within a collective of people versus the overall absolute standard of wealth in society. That's a typo here. Of wealth in society. Americans fighting about income equality while half the world starves to death and makes our clothes in sweatshops. It's just ridiculous. Society will never come to the conclusion that life isn't fair. Luck plays a role in outcomes, and that sometimes some differences will never be legislated away. This isn't the same thing as saying we shouldn't fix the injustices where we do see them, but to some, I might as well be saying that. So I don't disagree with what he says here, right? That society will never come to the conclusion that life isn't fair. Luck, I don't agree. I don't disagree with this, right? I don't disagree. Luck plays a role in outcomes. I agree with that. But he neglects to talk about what I had mentioned. It's more than luck. It's more than luck. It comes back to personal preference, personal history, your dreams compared to my dreams. Like I have dreams of having a nice house and a nice yard, maybe a couple acres, some animals, kind of homesteading. And I'm certain maybe you don't all share that dream. So why should we all have that to be equal? Yeah, you see, so he's not wrong. The author of this article, this essay, is not wrong by saying that luck has a role to play, that life being that the outcomes aren't fair. But I think what's more than that is the way we are, our interests, our desires, our hopes, and our dreams. That has more to play in the diversity of outcome than he said. But that's okay. I don't have to agree with everything he says. I do like the essay, though. So let's get back here. Number 4. Personal responsibility is dying. I have a lot to say about this one. Let's read what he writes first, and then I might add to it. Past generations could at least hold onto the pride in their own personal responsibility, regardless of their circumstances. We had a sort of collective toughness that's gone. Again, clearly, we had some terrible problems in the past, but we threw the baby out with the bathwater. Man, that's good. We now live in a culture where you can blame everyone but yourself for not just some, but all the problems in your life. Too many people in society have given up hope on themselves altogether, and they're now relying on a savior. Big daddy government. I don't need it. Of course, the media and the leaders of institutions drive this narrative deeper into our brains. At this point, all of my points are the same point, but let me keep going. We keep borrowing from the future equity of society to gratify ourselves now, but there's a limit to that. Didn't I get into that topic before I started reading this? Didn't I had mentioned this problem with inflation? And, we don't need to really tax, but we want to tax because we have to be equal. So the 1% should spend more. And they don't really need to do that because they're printing more money to make more stimulus checks. But when they print money, it's going to go down in value. Didn't I mention something like that? It blows my mind. It blows my mind how people don't want to take responsibility. And we'd rather borrow from the future, borrow from my kids' future to make life a little more comfortable now, instead of owning up to the shit you've done and fighting through it. What did my dad say when I was growing up? Tough times don't last. Tough people do. And I'm very grateful to the lessons my father gave me. I mean, I've been homeless more than once. I've been homeless here in Brazil, and I never blamed anybody else but the choices that I made. And this is why, like, this kind of topic I'm passionate about, because I look around me and I look at a bunch of crybabies, pansy ass little soft snowflakes that can't hear hard truths. They can't hear hard truths. They want to be comforted with a lie. They want to be tucked into bed. They want oatmeal because they don't want to choke on any meat. They want to suck on a bottle. Drives me freaking crazy. I think that we're in a time of change, and I think we're at the birth, the phoenix of real men again. Yeah, Papa Finn. Yeah, my dad's name is Mike too, like me. I'm named after my dad. Yeah, man. That's all they do is whine. It drives me freaking crazy. I hear it all the time. And literally cry. Like, the men out here in Brazil cry. Like, we talked about this on Bruno's on his podcast. A man can cry, but it's a private thing. You don't go out and cry. Like, oh man, get the fuck. It pisses me off. Okay, let's get back to the essay. All right, so of course the media, I already read that one. Here we go. So on an individual level, you don't want to be a martyr or a victim, even if you think you do. It's better for you to believe everything is your fault, whether or not that's actually true. You want some constraints and boundaries, something to live up to. I like this. This here reminds me of extreme ownership. Something that Tony talks about, something that I do agree with as a family man. Extreme ownership. Like, if something happens in my family, something happens to my wife or something, I take the blame. It's my fault. Oh, you didn't do anything. That's probably why it's my fault. I didn't do anything. I should have done something. You get this idea? On an individual level, you don't even want to be a martyr or a victim, even if you think you do. It's better. This is the part right here I like. It's better for you to believe everything is your fault, whether or not it's actually true. You want some constraints and boundaries and something to live up to. I like that. All right. Why do you think people like Jordan Peterson became so popular? People wanted a father figure to tell them to get their shit together. They crave it. You don't have time to wait for a perfect and equal society. You're going to die. And while you're alive, no one is coming to save you. Trust me. Again, I'm sure someone will misread this as saying there aren't societal problems that need to be solved. There are plenty. I'm just betting that none of them will be solved in a way that helps you get what you truly want from life anyway, meaning freedom, a life you're proud of. Only you can provide that for yourself. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that statement. Get off your butt and handle business. Do what you've got to do. I like that paragraph. I like that section. Extreme ownership. Talking about Jordan Peterson became so famous because people are looking for a father. I think this is why people look to government for to be their savior nowadays. Freedom, to be truly free, means that you have no guarantee. That means that you have to make the tough decisions and suffer the consequences for them. Right? You suffer the consequences, whether they're good consequences or bad consequences. They're a result of the decisions you made. And unfortunately, too many people nowadays are too afraid to make those decisions. So they'd rather sit back, click on Netflix, eat a Hot Pocket, drink a big gulp of soda, and let government give you your stimulus check, give you your what is that they're trying to do? Your standardized income. Wow. Oh my gosh. It just drives me crazy. All right, let's go back. That was number 4. Let's go to number 5. All right, number 5. God is dead. That's Nietzsche. Yeah, it's Nietzsche there. His famously said this, of course. I'm not a religious person. That's this guy writing this. I am. But I do see the value in having a shared set of morals, organizing principles to live by, and a reward system that promotes good behavior while alive. I'm going to heaven. This, in my opinion, is one of the biggest reasons why we have the downfall of society. God, as a Christian man, the Bible says that God created 3 institutions. The first one was family. Second one was the church, and the third was the state. You can't have the state without family. You can't have the church without the family. The state is now overpowering the church and overpowering the families. And in my opinion, breaking down the family, like causing us to be rats on a wheel running in place to earn money, to buy shit we don't need, and then we become slaves to our products instead of living rich and fulfilled lives of producing content, literature, poems, going on adventures, eating good food, spending time with good people. And I'm guilty of this. I work a lot, but I'm very, very blessed that I love what I do. But God is dead. Like, he's not, but this in society, they've pushed him out. And look what's happening. Let's continue. Some atheists even acknowledge the benefits of religion, even if they don't believe in God. I think of Anthony Dream Johnson. He has on Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. He brings on Michael Foster. He doesn't agree. He doesn't agree with myself. Him and I talked about that on one of Tony's streams. But he respects that. He understands the value of it, of the moral compass that it brings. Anyways, humans seem to be religious animals and will always find a religion to adhere to. The problem happens when the religions they adopt have all the negative qualities and none of the positive ones. Condemnation without redemption. And you know what that makes me think of? Nowadays, there are 2 religions that are popular. They are science and government. Science and government, right? That's the religion nowadays. People worship the altar of science and the altar of government. They don't want to care about God anymore. God is he's an abuser, right? He's an angry God. They want to say. Oh, thanks, V. You like my hair? Yeah, it's pretty white. It's getting white. I gotta cut it. It's getting a little long. You should have seen when I had long hair. You should have seen when I had a long beard. I was a bearded guy. That was my character when I first started YouTube. If you look at my older videos, I got a beard probably about that long. But I look younger without it. But thanks. Okay. Anyways, I don't want to get distracted. I like engaging with you guys, but I wanna stay on topic here. Yeah, science and government. That is the religion nowadays. People worship science, people worship government, and people don't want to see how you can't have either of the two without God. It's impossible. But I don't want to get too preachy here. Maybe that can be another podcast. But this becomes our God, our idol. If it's not science, if it's not government, it's money. It's sex, right? Some of us, we partake in this manosphere stuff, right? Whatever you put your attention in becomes your focus of admiration. It's your idol. And this is what happens. Right? We make idols out of things. All right, let's go back. I'm going to get too preachy. So we didn't end up agreeing on a shared sort of secular humanistic set of principles. I think of the Great Awakening back in early American history. Anyways, that would hold the fabric of society together, the social fabric of society together. And without some sort of sense of higher meaning to adhere to, people got lost. They could find it on their own without God, and some do, but most don't. Many dive into nihilism, and the nihilist, aimless energy has to go somewhere. Religion isn't the point. The point is that the idea of divinity has been lost. People don't see each other as divine, meaning that they are made in the same image of each other. Wow, that's good stuff, man. I talked about this last night on Gonzo's live stream. Life has been lessened. Like the value of life isn't worth what it used to be. We have been desensitized by Hollywood and movies, by video games. And when you don't see humans as created creatures made in the image of God, the image and likeness of God, but you see humans as stardust, as evolutionary bags of protoplasm that are caused by as a result of matter in motion in time, then it's easy to not value it. Like, if that's your world point of view, if that's your so what's the difference between you and a tree? What's the difference between me? Why is it okay to eat a chicken but not a baby? But I know some people are vegan here. So what's the difference with eating a turnip and an egg? If that's your worldview. Well, like I said, I'm not trying to be philosophical here, and I'm not going to try to get theological here, but I believe when Nietzsche said this, that God is dead and pushed God out of society, this was the domino that took away the value of human life. Because as a Christian, regardless if you agree with me or not, regardless if you're black or yellow, brown, Mexican, Indian, black, or whatever, you're a human that bleeds red. You have dreams and desires like I do. You seek justice like I do. We're made in the image and likeness of God. You don't see dogs fighting for justice. But we humans, we spend billions of dollars a year on the justice system, even though it's failed. You got people freaking out, like the police officer, Derek Jeter, who was involved with the George Floyd incident. It's on trial right now. If we're just products of stardust, what's the point? What's the big deal? You see my argument here? We, deep inside us, each one of us wants justice. We don't like it when we see lies, or we don't like it when we see inhumanities, like things done wrong to other people. That's in us. The only people that don't think this way are psychopaths. Yeah. Yeah, he's on trial right now, right? Chauvin, Derek Jeter. Did I say Derek Jeter? Sorry. Yeah, that's the baseball player, right, for the Yankees. Derek Chauvin. That's what I meant. My bad. All right. Anyways, that was funny. What a way to pop a bubble into the deep philosophical point I was making. Oh man. Anyways, okay. But that's the point I'm trying to make here is, all joking aside, that when we took God out of the picture, we took out the value of human life. We took it away. So there's no problem if there's a Holocaust and if we're slaughtering people like in a genocide. We can't get upset with the chicken farmers and slaughtering chickens for KFC, can we? You see the point I'm trying to make? When God is taken out of the picture, we lose that essence of this idea that you are special and unique. You are as individual as that fingerprint on your hand. There's no one else like you. This goes back to that video I made on beauty. But it's true. You're special. There's value to you. But if there's no God, there's no value. And we're just products of time and space and matter and motion. All right, let's go back. I like that. Yes, I understand all the problems of religion, and I'm not saying we need to go back to organized religion either. I can disagree with that. But I'm trying to make the point Nietzsche made a lot better, saying that without a religion-like set of shared values, societies fragment and collapse, which is exactly what you see happening. Like a toppled dictator, we've created a power vacuum where God once ruled and people can't seem to emotionally handle it. I like that. Let's go to number 6. The mainstream media is out of control. Man, who can agree with that one? The mainstream media is out of control. They're the ones that are creating the narrative. The media used to at least pretend to be objective. Those days are gone. Walter Cronkite died and took a balanced view of the world with him. Now, the media creates the most salacious content possible because it drives clicks at a time where those clicks are desperately needed. Those incentives have always been there, but it's worse now because of the decentralized nature of the new media landscape. Now, you don't have to go to the mainstream media for information, and they know it. I've seen several independent journalists and content creators get 10 times the engagement of large news organizations as an individual. You have less bureaucratic incentives to lie. Hey, and that reminds me back to when I was talking about Steven Crowder. I watched his live stream of the election. He had literally 10 times more of the views than the mainstream media. And that's why they hate him so much. He's got 5 million something subscribers. It's wild. It's wild. And the ancient or the old media, the dinosaur media, they know it. And that's why they're using big tech and Twitter to strong arm us. All right, let's go back. Here we go. Many journalists want to do solid reporting, but incentives drive them to spin information because they're caught in the belly of the beast. And aside, dear journalists, you could just strike out on your own and make more money anyways. I know you tried. I know you're tired of spinning that BS. In the past, when the news and media pundits had a monopoly on attention, they didn't have to go to such extreme lengths to get attention. Now that legacy media is dying, that's the word I was looking for, legacy media, they have no choice. When I say the news is fake, I mean it. They don't always flat out lie, even though they sometimes do. Rather, they lie by omission and choose what to highlight and to create narratives. Now, remember, this was written in August of 2020. I'll share the link. I think I already did in the description. I don't remember, but I'll double check when I'm done with the post. But take a look at this. This is exactly what happened with 60 Minutes. Exactly what happened, right? Ron DeSantis in his speech when the reporter was talking to him about Publix, and he clearly traced it out what he was happening, but they cut it out. They cut out like 2 minutes of his speech, and they clearly altered it. Man. All right, let's keep going. Who needs enemies with friends like this, right? They spin the facts in such a way that fake is apt label. And no, I don't just mean the other side. I mean your side, both sides. I'm not saying you shouldn't stay informed at all, but use a critical lens when you view the news, to say the least. And this reminds me of a quote I saw from Denzel Washington one time. He was being interviewed on the red carpet or something, and he said that you shouldn't watch the news because you're going to be misinformed. But if you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. So it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're either uninformed or you're misinformed. And that's why the internet is so important. I'm nobody big, and this is just me sharing my points of view, but there are lots of big YouTubers out there with huge platforms, and they're being bullied by big tech. And what can we do? Yeah, I like Ben Shapiro too. I think Ben Shapiro goes a little too overboard a little bit. I think he pokes a little too, or he beats the drum a little too hard. It's just like he's almost like a talking head for the right, but I do like him too. I remember I used to listen to Ben Shapiro when he got started in LA. The morning answer, I remember. Anyways, I like him too. I think his podcast has too many commercials, but hey, can't hate the guy for capitalizing on his name. My favorite is Crowder. If you guys don't know Steven Crowder, check out Louder with Crowder. I love that guy's great. You got to check out his Change My Minds. He goes to places, brings a taboo topic, and he doesn't debate. He has a discussion with people. This is what I think. Change my mind. Great stuff. Steven Crowder. I love him. All right, let's go back. We're almost done. Sorry for the long stream. Number 7, idealism has replaced optimism. As a society, we've somehow managed to become more pessimistic. While creating more unrealistic goals, optimism means you have faith in people to succeed despite their conditions. Idealism means you want to eradicate unfair conditions, which is impossible. I get it. When people call for vast sweeping change to fix society and make it fair, they have good intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Many people fail to understand that you can create many new problems by solving old ones. And this is exactly what happens when people dream up utopia politics and create dystopia. I added that part there. They only think about the initial effect and forget about the ripple effects. The 94 crime bill had good intentions. That's the one that the former vice president Joe Biden wrote, right? The 94 crime bill had good intentions to stop crime, but it created a second order consequence of exploding the prison population and breaking up hundreds of thousands of families in the process, fueling the third order effect, more crime and poverty. Awesome job, guys. You can't stop the, wow, that's a new word for me. You can't stop the I Trodrick's train. Something, I think that's a wrong typo. Anyways, you can just come to the conclusion that I want to come to through reading all of these points. Nobody is coming to save you. And even if they try, they'll probably fuck it up. I feel bad for the people who want these sweeping changes because they can't perceive second and third order effects. They just can't. They're screaming at the sky in vain. Don't be one of these people. You see, I hope you guys understand why I wanted to read this and share this with you guys, because this is one of the topics I've talked a lot about as an English teacher with young people and trying to get them to wake up to society and stuff that's going on. And when I found this essay, I just thought it hit the nail on the head with a lot of these points, right? Okay, let's go back. I'm going to finish this up. Number 8, problem of abundance. Man, ain't that the truth? We just have too much in our world today. We don't know what it's like to hunger and strive. Everything's at a click, a flip of a wrist, or snap of a finger, click of a mouse key. Yeah, let's look at this. We used to suffer from problems of scarcity. Now we suffer from having too many options. We have an abundance of sweet and fatty foods, an abundance of cheap entertainment, and abundance of information, especially information that confirms our biases. I don't know where the line should be drawn, but we've suffered from losing some of our ancestral tendencies. This is why you see some people returning to old practices like cave people, buying local grown products or starting their own farms and gardens, consuming less media, and interacting locally instead of being globally connected 24/7. Man, this is making the arguments I was talking about in the beginning. Why are anxiety, depression, and suicide at highs when the absolute wealth is also at its highest? I don't know the perfect answer, but maybe it's that technology can't provide meaning. No level of general well-being can cure people comparing their relative well-being. Maybe technology has made our ability to understand our relative well-being too acute. You now have more evidence than ever of people living better lives than you. But remember, their lives are curated, not real. Also, remember that it doesn't seem to any level of material wealth can really solve your major life problems. Maybe those problems are on you. That reminds me, a lot of my students are quite wealthy, but they're not very happy. Well, some are, but some aren't. Here we go. Number 9. We stopped looking at each other as human beings. Oh man, I just thought this gets back to the argument about God. God is dead. This overlaps an earlier point, but all the points overlap. You see, you can't hate someone you see as human being. You have to be some level beneath humans to justify such venom. You have to look at someone on the other side as evil to be that vitriolic toward them. This is why we throw such harsh labels at each other to dehumanize and justify our own hatred. Calling Republicans or Trump supporters Nazis, going to their rallies and punching them in the face. You have movie stars accepting their Golden Globes and their Oscars and yell and punch someone in the face. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? If you label someone a Nazi, it's easy to punch a Nazi in the face, right? The next step is violence. You can assault a human because it's wrong, but you can assault a Nazi or a communist. I just said that because there's something below human. I mean, why do you think Hitler? He dehumanized the Jews because it's easier to sell it to the German people to eradicate them if you don't look at them as human. Of course, the umbrella of both those terms have gotten much wider. How did we get here? You'd have to ask someone smarter than me. I'm still grasping for the answers, as you can see in this essay that feels a little bit above my pay grade. I just know the way I feel, and I tend to look at people from all sides of the aisle as mostly good human beings who are driven by the same incentives and emotions that drive us all: fear, love, family, identity, ego, greed, altruism, compassion, bias, and I can go on. The incentives created by society and our nature as humans have created this weird and perverted cocktail that led to the point we're at now. I'll remain an optimist, though, and try to steer as many individuals in the right direction as possible, which is the direction of the individual. I truly believe self-improvement is the ultimate tool for compassion and social justice. Get yourself right, and you'll want to help others too. And if you get yourself right, people look at you and see, wow, what is that guy on? What can I do what he's doing? Now, let's go to the last point. Point number 10. We're soft. Yes, I said it, soft. I'm not even allowed to say it anymore, but I'm going to. I believe in social safety nets. I believe in equal treatment of human beings. Bullying is a problem. Some aspects of political correctness are justified. We don't need to use shame to motivate people. I disagree with that. I think shame is extremely important to motivate people, but not humiliation. I do not agree with humiliation. No, I don't know anything about this author. I found him when I was researching some of the stuff, but I'm going to share the link. I'm going to share the link to this essay in the description. You can check it out later. How you doing, Adriano? Boa noite, cara. Nice to see you. Welcome. But I agree with this. We're too soft. Everyone's a snowflake. You can't offend them saying the wrong thing. Campuses, universities have safe spaces. We could lay there on a beanbag chairs and squeeze stuffed animals. Like, what the really? So I like this statement. This is a good way to kind of wrap up this essay, I think. Oh, let me go back. But that doesn't mean that all of our feelings should be justified. Someone being offended doesn't automatically make something offensive. The man isn't always out to get you. Sometimes you're just lazy. There is an abundance of opportunities available to you, but some of these opportunities are difficult. There's a growing population of people who want something for nothing, driven by the pandering coming from the top down, which is incentivized by people responding favorably to pandering. Just a giant mess. You know, this is my argument about the stimulus checks and here in Brazil, giving free money and stuff. It just makes people more lazy. It just makes them lazier. Like why do I have to work? I'm getting free money. I'll just go have a drink, watch Netflix, and do nothing. And people need to earn for themselves. Wally, I know exactly the point he's getting at here. I remember watching Wally with my daughter. If you don't know the plot, Wally is a movie about a society that ruined planet Earth and boarded a spaceship to escape. On the spaceship, everyone had every single one of their needs met to the point they literally didn't move their bodies. Getting fed chemically engineered food, watching TV 24/7. It's scary how close we are to this fictional movie. The conversation about equality should end at basic human rights. The Magna Carta, an old document. If you guys don't know the Magna Carta, that was written to King, I can't remember, King John, King George in Portugal, in England, which basically established human rights in Parliament. Anyways. Whether or not we're there is up for debate, of course, but we're pushing it in many areas, and it's obvious. It's all political theater driven by the fact that people are willing to do almost anything but look in a mirror. Trust me, you don't want to be one of these people and continue to play this game. Just stop. I'm not saying life has been fair to you. It certainly hasn't been fair to me. I'm sure in many ways it hasn't. But what are you going to do about it? The answer to that question matters a million times more than the state of society. And that is the essay of, what's the title? Here's the title here. 10 Things That Are Wrong with Society Today. I'm going to put a link in the description. This essay, I felt, as I said, as I was putting my ideas together about tonight's topic, hit the nail on the head. And I didn't agree with everything it said, but for the most part of the essay, I agree with it. We are soft as a people. We are afraid to do the hard things. I've said this on many live streams. I can't remember which ones, but it's a tune that I can't stop stringing. It's a beat I can't stop drumming. We got to stop looking at the government on the federal level. We need to look at the society as a community, look at our tribe, look in the mirror, figure out what can you do to better your situation, your family situation, your neighbor situation. Don't look to the government to save you. This is one of the lessons that I'm so thankful that my father gave me, another one of those lessons. Don't look to be saved. Don't look for handouts. If you want something done, you got to do it yourself. Adriano, do I know Brazil? Yes, I know Brazil, bro. I live here in João Pessoa. I live in the Northeast, man. I'm in Brazil. Been here for 12 years now. Thanks, Marty. I wanted to make a good one. I wanted to bring something that I'm passionate about. I knew it was going to go long. I didn't know it was going to go about 2 hours. But I had a lot I wanted to say and build up to this essay. And I knew, because I did read the essay once in a class of mine, in one of my English classes. I was test driving this essay to see if this is something I can use on the live, and it really panned out well with the class. And like I said, I don't agree with everything that the author of the essay says, but I do agree with the essay, and I don't know where we're going to go from here. There's lots of issues going on. There's lots of issues with the manosphere. There's lots of issues with the destructive nature of feminism. We have societal issues, governmental issues. We have this pandemic. We have pressure of forced vaccinations and vaccine. I mean, I saw a report saying if you want your freedoms back, get vaccinated. Like, what the? Serious? So I don't stress. I don't stress about these things, and I try to bring to you my calmness. Things have always been bad. Things will always be bad. But what can you do to make your life better? That's how I look at it. I have my own family. I've got a wife and kids, and they're my focus. I'm an English teacher, so I have a platform to stand on. I share with people. I don't claim to be a guru, but I have seen quite a bit of this world and of life. And all I'm trying to do is just give you food for thought, right? I don't want to end this live stream on a negative note. Guys, life is beautiful. Life is great. The world is a beautiful place. If you disconnect from your phones and enjoy life and enjoy the people around you, build something, make a project, eat some delicious food, have some delicious wine, smoke a delicious cigar, enjoy the pleasures of life, be productive. This goes back to my arguments in my video. I talked about how to build confidence. Build something. Be proud of it. Make a name for yourself. Enjoy it. Don't focus on the negative. What you feed more of is what you're going to get out of it. Like if you're just going to feed the negative, you're just going to feel and get negative. Don't cut it off completely. It's important to be aware. Knowledge is power. And I'm a true believer in that. But don't dwell on it. Learn from it. Take what you need from it. But then move on and live your life. Don't be sucked into drama. That's a woman trait. Just live your life, man. Be happy. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I do go live every Wednesday night. I talk about different things that are on my heart to talk about. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to my channel. I do tongue twisters every Tuesday, lives every Wednesday night. I'm going to try to post another video tomorrow or Friday about auxiliaries because my channel is English. Check me on Instagram. I'm always trying to post things to help you improve your English. And my main focus is teaching people to be better communicators. But with this platform, I want to get out there and reach you on different levels. And with that, I'm going to call it a night, guys. Thank you for joining me. Sorry it was such a long video, but I think there was a lot of good stuff here, and I hope you enjoyed it because I sure did. I am here doing my best to make you better. Have a great night, guys. I'll see you in the next video. I'm Mr. Finn, and I'll catch you later. Bam!
Yeah, baby, yeah.